Monday. Next to me, Mr. Innovation, Saul Kaplan from the Business Innovation Factory. And we want to thank our friends at Deepwater Wind for all their support in making this a reality. Saul Kaplan, I don't know if you saw the numbers. Gina Raimondo, this is omnipresent today, raised $1.3 million for the first quarter of 2018. Pretty good take.
She's proven that she can raise the money, that's for sure. Pretty broad base, of supporters, and she's going to need the resource now. It looks like there's a primary that she's going to have to compete, but it looks like she's got the resources to do that, and she'll be there for the general. So
yeah, she raised a lot of money. Gary said, "Hey, listen, she's still got a problem at the end of the day. Whichever poll you want to look at, she still have 40% approval rating." She's obviously got to turn that around and translate that energy about fundraising into a message about improving the state's economy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But there's a lot of elements to that story, a lot of good news, and a pretty solid direction. I mean, the macro economy, is in her favor.
Right.
Right. So that should help her. The unemployment rate is low, and we'll see.
Let's first talk about what's going on at the airport. I think it kind of caught everybody a little bit. You've got two innovators, Uber, the rideshare megalopagus, who's run into a lot of fist fights. Probably nobody's had more fights, no company, in the last 2 years than that company. And then Rhode Island Airport Corporation, on the upswing, fast growing, adding flights, adding new airlines, adding international, and these two are throwing down over $6.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more than that for the airport. I mean, this is dueling business models.
Yeah, right.
It is really what you've got here, and the airport, that's using a lot of its resource to create discounts to bring these airlines in.
Absolutely.
Right. The only other way they have to make up those dollars is around the ancillary services, and parking and transportation in and out of the airport are.
You cannot tax Starbucks enough.
It's a big moneymaker for the airport. So you can't blame the airport for trying to put a tax, if you will, on whatever the service is coming in. It does look a little strange to me, that they're talking about $6 fees, although I understand that they offered Lyft $5, and they say they've offered that to Uber too. But $5 versus what does it cost a taxi cab? To come into the airport, $1.50?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I mean,
$1 to $2.
What's the difference between those two things, other than they need the money, the market's there, and they think they can get it? But Uber is, they don't need the business. The people that get ticked off by this are folks like me who use Uber.
Right.
I show up at the airport and I want to call an Uber, and the message comes up, you can't access it here.
Right.
You got to walk across the street to what's the hotel, sitting there, and we'll pick you up there or something.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. It's a food fight, and you remember the wars around the parking garages.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? They don't take it lightly. It's really important to to their business model, and so we'll see where it shakes out in the end. In the end, it really comes down to the citizens and the customers, and how big a stink they make about the fact that they can't get it.
Or do they just download a Lyft app and say, forget? Well, how is it that Uber seems to be, everything from firing almost its entire management team 2 times over in the last 24 months? Business Insider has a slideshow, I think it is, of all the management that has been gone in the last 24, 30 months. And it's pretty much every position 2 or 3 times. Fights in almost every municipality in the United States and across the globe. Deviant behaviors, sexual assaults, et cetera, et cetera. And Lyft just seems to sit there quietly in second position, picking up market share and never saying a word to anybody. How could those two cultures be so closely, from a business standpoint, identical, but so different from a execution
Well,
standpoint.
there are some parts of their practices, that got them in trouble, and
Uber's.
big unforced errors on Uber's case. So I'm the last one to try to rationalize those kinds of behaviors from the leadership. I'm glad they got rid of the CEO and brought in another guy. But some of this is just business practice, and they've got the brass knuckles on. I mean, they play hardball, but they're the disruptor. Right, so the incumbents are always going to resist the disruptor, coming in, and this is a good example of that. Uber's going to say, look, like we'll negotiate a reasonable price, but we're not paying you $6.
Right.
And so they walk away from it, and again, it's the consumer in the end.
Right.
And the airport will point at Uber and say, blame Uber.
Yep.
Right. And Uber will say, it's not our fault. We would have paid a fair price. For that, they don't have to pay a fee to stop out in front of your office, to pick me up, to get home.
Could be a new revenue stream, right?
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. Diversify.
Yeah, there you go. But this is really about dueling business models and trying to protect revenue streams.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of like a tax. It's no different than the Amazon discussion about sales tax and local retailers saying it's not fair.
Yeah.
We have to pay sales tax because we're a resident here, and the online retailers don't. It's similar to that when the airport tries to charge one class of transportation one fee,
right,
and another class a different fee. And we just sit here and we scratch our heads in the end, and say, how about you do what's right for the actual consumer?
How's this going to shake out?
But, in the end, I think
$4 fee.
I think Uber's got more staying power. I think
more leaving
power. In
power.
the end, I think it's the question of how noisy consumers are.
Yeah.
I know there's some airports I go to, where if I can't get Uber, it really bugs me.
Yeah.
Right, because I've become kind of used to being able to get Uber wherever and not having to pay extra fees, in order to get them. So we'll see. I don't know who's going to win out in the end. And maybe it just turns out that Uber, isn't going to be able to, come pick me up at the airport. And I'll
I can say in Portland,
way.
Oregon, that taxis is a better option than Uber. There's a heavy fee on Uber, and the availability and where it is makes taxis a much better option just at the airport.
Well, I'd love to see the numbers, right, to see whether more people are actually taking the taxi.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there was a huge uplift. I think people find another way unless you could improve the taxi
You're
service,
a New York
right?
guy. You go to New York.
Yep.
Which is a better transportation mode, taxis or Uber?
I'm
a taxi guy in New York.
I use both. New York, you can. There's always taxis there. But there are times where I like the convenience of Uber. I like the fact that...
And you like the Uber Black. You want a big Cadillac
No.
SUV.
Never. Always, just the Uber X. But I like the convenience. I like the fact that I get out of the car. I don't have to take out my charge card and all this stuff. Right. I really think it's convenient, and I like being able to see how far out the Uber is, from where I am. So they've done a really good job with that. We'll see how Lyft. You're right. Lyft is taking share away on the bottom, but Uber's still the gorilla in this space. There's no question about that.
Let's talk about the Fane Tower. It's kind of an interesting innovation, right?
Yeah.
Here we are. Nobody's, best as I can tell, in the last, really since Providence Place Mall nearly 20 years ago, no one's come to Providence and put a project on the table of this mass, this level of private investment. Yes, they're getting some subsidies, but it's the subsidies for the 195 land that goes along with if you built a hot dog stand. Wexford got far greater incentives outside of that existing structure of 195. They got straight up subsidies in this situation, and our reaction has been mixed across the board.
Well, I think you have to tease apart the reaction.
Sure.
There is the standard, like we don't want anything there. We want only pedestrian traffic, and nothing that blocks any views.
Right.
And we've been arguing, and a lot of folks in Rhode Island, not just here, but certainly here, have been arguing for smart growth, right? Which means urban density.
Right.
And so for years and years and years, they said we need more urban density, and the only way to get urban density is height.
Yep.
How else are you
Absolutely.
going to get it? But then here comes an outside investor with capital, that wants to put a significant amount of dollars here into the state. And what do? A big chunk of the population resisted. It wouldn't matter whether it was a hot dog stand, or a big tower. They're just against it, right? And so no matter what they do. Now there are also some people who say, let's actually think about the design, and let's make sure, that we've got the opportunity to influence the design, so that we're all proud, of this investment. But the truth is, anytime what I call outside capital comes in here and starts to try to play in the local environment. We've seen this over and over and over again. It is really hard for someone from the outside to come in here, even if they have a big checkbook, right, to go build something like this, right? Somebody's got to be first, right? If the question really is, can we imagine a lot more towers like it in Providence, where it looks like a lot of other cities, right, that are growing, and new towers and mixed use and all the stuff is happening? Or do you fear that this is a one and done? We're going to get one tower, and that's going to be the only tower of its height, in the Providence skyline forever.
Well, I can guarantee if you torture him long enough, it will be the only tower if he gets it done, because anybody else thinking about doing it will say, why would I ever want to go to Providence? It took him an extra 3 years. The price went up by 45%. He says, listen, if you're building right now, on the average, on a one-year basis, it's about a 15% increase in a good economy in your construction costs due to increased cost of labor and steel and all that sort of stuff. So, if we torture them long enough, we can either put them out of business, or we'll get a reputation as just being the most difficult place.
That's the crowd that really doesn't want anything there. So they'll complain about this big tower, and they don't like the design. But if you really push and say, what would you build there?
Right.
If it's not 34 stories, what if it was 28? Would that? And you know what happens? If the truth is, a lot of people just don't want anything. Right. Or they'll say, we like it, but we don't want it on that lot. We want it on some other lot. Okay, which lot would you allow that tower? How
about right here? We'll take these two parking lots. We'll knock over that.
Now, I'm not saying the design doesn't still need work. I don't think they're saying that the design doesn't still need work. And
I thought the second, listen, I thought the first design, what do I know, looked like Dubai. I thought that was a fair critique. I thought the second design was interesting. I would see that in an interesting city, that it was creative, that it sparks a discussion about things. Also, I think time is very different to new buildings and new designs, and buildings that we used to criticize immensely, like what was the old stone building, now where Hemingway's is now forgiven much more, and it fits in more. Citizens Building over there was widely criticized.
Whenever you're first, if you're going to do anything that's kind of remarkable, people are going to be against it. And you hear people say, we need something that's more in keeping with New England. What does that mean? Like nothing? A center hall colonial? Like, what are we talking about? Like, show me what you would accept there, right? Rather than just taking down everything.
All wood. Up 30, 40 stories.
Right. I think personally, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting that someone's coming in here, that it looks on the surface, has the resources to be able to capitalize this kind of development, right? We could use this kind of catalyst, right? Let's get the design right, so that everybody...
How about the view? I mean, the other thing that I think is being lost in that is there's going to be a substantial number of people who live in it are going to have a remarkable living experience. I mean, the views from that tower, you can pick, I tease, you can pick your parking spot if you're leaving for Newport. Oh, look, on Spring Street over there, there's a parking spot. Quick, honey, get in the car. We might be able to get it. I mean, the views will be amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
So whatever the 1,000 people who live in that will have a remarkable experience.
Yeah, no, I think this thing is going to be dragged out. There's obviously going to be a fight, and there should be a healthy conversation.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Big dramatic change.
But I think a lot of the crowd that was against the ballpark, has just changed team. Slid over here, and now they're against this, right? And so we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of rooting for more development, and I like something iconic. I think it could send an important signal. Anytime somebody comes in with outside capital and is willing to put it and make a bet here in Providence, we can parlay that into other investments.
Absolutely.
And we'd be very wise to take it seriously and work on the real issues around the design to get something that's acceptable.
Listen, I was on the city council when Providence Place was going through approval, and I think of myself as a strong preservationist, and there was lots of critique. The design did get improved, dramatically improved from where it started. Is it a big building? It's a big building. Does it block some views? It blocks some views. But it also sparked not only the $400 million in investment that it was, but it probably sparked $2 billion worth of adjacent development, and it transformed the city of Providence over the last 2 decades.
Well, it certainly played a role in that. Whether it alone did that, it certainly played a role in it. I mean, my only concerns now, with hindsight, is that it really split off the east side and the west side, so it's really welcoming coming in from this side of town.
Right.
Not so welcoming if you're on the other side of that.
I don't know. Tony Thomas has done pretty well.
No, you're right.
And when he markets those apartments at the Sharp Building and the Promenade, what's the number one thing on the list? Adjacent to Providence Place Mall. That is number one.
But the thing we do need to pay attention to with these developments, and it would be true here as well, is it is important to think about the pathways and how people move.
Absolutely.
Right, how pedestrians move around the waterfront, how they move into the interior.
100%.
Right? I think those things are really important, and you have to play the long game on these things. I don't think it should get in the way of a development and one that has significant height, right? But I do think we have to be thoughtful about it. We could have been a little more thoughtful about Providence Place and probably opened up better transit between the west side, and the east side of Providence. And we pay a pretty big price for that, in terms of a separation. Now the highway, obviously plays.
Well, that's the one that
major
really,
role in that.
I mean,
but that's the beauty of this 195 relocation.
Just blew out all
and
that.
We get a second chance. Right, we get a second chance to do it right. I think a lot of the processes have been really solid, and this is an important lot. Like, what happens there? We need, I think a lot of concessions were made to create the pedestrian flow. That bridge, I think the advocacy for that, the pedestrian bridge was well intended and right.
It looks like it's going to be spectacular.
I think it's fantastic. Now to say that we can't get a large development with significant height, onto those lots there, I think is missing a big opportunity. And we do need the density.
Let's one of my favorite subjects. Biff's growing, hiring some more people.
Yep.
What does it speak to about? Are you finding people? Is there the talent base to be able to feed the beast? Are you curtailed from growing faster? Are you able to attract people who want to come live in Providence? Or are you able to scoop up people from other places?
Well, listen, we have a fair number of people who came in, from out of state and did move here.
Yeah.
And the kind of people who work at Biff, very design oriented, they're very attracted to the scale of Providence and Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And to a lot of the attributes that are here. My wife teases me that I do a better job of creating jobs now at Biff than I did when I was responsible for that in the state. So we're proud of it. We're proud of growing the platform. We're proud of attracting that talent. We also are able to bring in local, talent, when that makes sense. I like to support, my alma mater, your alma mater, whenever I can, to have some folks from URI, come in and learn how to do what we do. No, it's good right now. I mean, mostly it's because everybody all of a sudden understands that they need to innovate. And so the thing that I've been stubborn and very persistent on for a lot of years, all of a sudden, the market is emerging for that. It's still not everybody. Still a lot of leaders are going to protect the old business models.
Right.
But there's a growing number of leaders in healthcare, education, and government that know that just doing it the same way we've always done it is not sufficient. And so there's a lot of demand. We have a lot of conversations and a really nice pipeline of project opportunities. And of course, the summit every year, continues to attract people from around the world. So knock on something. Life is pretty good. Right?
Let's talk summit. Give us some, who are going to be some of the highlights? We've talked about a couple in previous weeks.
Just
added some surprises.
We just added John Kao, who is one of my innovation heroes. He wrote the book Innovation Nation. And right when I got into economic development here in Rhode Island and started to play in the innovation space, John was, at the time, he was up in Boston, he was up in Boston at Harvard, and he'd written this book, and he was really thinking about innovation as an economic development strategy. How do we build a culture and communities where innovation is at their core? So I've known him a long time. He's now out on the West Coast. He's really incredibly cool. He's a musician, traveled with Frank Zappa for a number of years.
And he still has the brain manner to be able to function in giving a public speech?
And he's a guru on innovation. He thinks a lot about innovation and education the same way we do at BIF. He's going to come back east in September, and on the 13th and 14th, he's going to share a story of what he's been up to. Who knows, we might even get him to play some music.
Excellent, excellent.
Well, he's on the stage, we'll see.
Good. And sellout again, it's always a sellout. Is there any thought about doing it in a bigger venue, in a bigger environment, in a, global stage of some kind?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, because we fill up Trinity Rep.
There's not an empty seat.
Right.
In the big theater.
We fill up, we're in the big theater, and Kurt and the team there at Trinity have been so great. I'm so grateful, for partnering with them every year. It's a beautiful venue. People every year say, are you ready to go bigger? Yeah. And the answer is no. I don't want to go bigger. For me, I'd rather have the right people in the room, and because we're all about engagement of the 500 plus people that are in the room. Right, I don't want to be TED. I don't want to have 2,000 people and people see it, in the ante room, looking at a television screen. I want the engagement, and the real magic of our BIF summits is not just what happens on the stage, the storytellers. It's what we call the random collisions of unusual suspects, or making a ruckus of the 500 plus people, that come from all over the world here to Rhode Island. Where they see Rhode Island as this incredible center of innovation, right? Because of all the people that we've attracted and that are having this conversation. And it's just a beautiful thing. And over the 2 days of the summit, you can see the energy level, rise. It's probably the best reception. The reception in between the 2 days is one of the best receptions of the year anywhere. Yeah. I'd stack it up with because everyone is just so emotional and ready to change the world, and they really want to collaborate in new and different ways. So they're very exciting for us.
Last thing before you jump off, big telco announcement of a merger, $26 billion deal. Between Sprint and T-Mobile, which I think has been announced 11 times in the past.
Yeah, they keep trying.
Is that good for innovation? We're in a little merger and acquisition period right now. The market's doing well. Yep. These companies are full of cash. Are we going to see more mergers in these key areas of innovation, and will innovation be curtailed because of that lack of competitiveness?
Yeah, in this particular case, it's interesting, and you're right, they've tried to do this now half a dozen times that I can recall. I think what's actually different right now is the CEO of SoftBank, the Japanese company, that's got a controlling interest of Sprint, had demanded that he was going to be the CEO of the combined, and he finally backed off of that. Right, so he's now agreed, imagine that, to not be the controlling leader of that combined organization. So that's what,
at least in figurehead.
That's what brought us this. Now, to your point about antitrust and competitiveness, I think the whole play here, at least the way they're positioning it, is around the next generation, 5G. Right. And so they're making the pitch that if we can combine our resources, we can be the innovator to put a 5G network at scale.
First to market, right? Is their claim?
Across the country. And they're claiming that the real competition isn't between just the wireless providers, that you have to add the broadband and cable providers to that, and you have to add the media players to that, and that's the real competition. We'll see whether the federal government we'll see what the Trump administration is going to do there, but because of those two things, the SoftBank CEO walking away from the controlling roll, and this push for 5G, I think you could end up having a deal here, and I think in this case, I think it could be good. I'm normally not, when I start to see concentration, that usually means higher prices, right, and less consumer choice, and oftentimes can mean less innovation. This is a space where there's so much churn and so much going on here that I think it's in the nation's best interest to allow this next generation of network, to accelerate it. So we'll see what happens.
Great. As always, thank you very much. We covered it all. We talked Uber and TF Green. We talked Fain and his 46-story tower. We talked Biff and the summit, and a little collision between two of the major wireless companies. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Business Monday here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thank our friends at Deepwater Wind. We'll be back tomorrow, 3 and 4 o'clock on GoLocal Live. Also, one big announcement, GoLocal is launching an important event on May 17th. We'll be having Jim Murphy, who was political director to the Trump campaign, a guy who does not come out in public very often, so I think it'll be insightful. Mike Sheehan, who's had 2 mammoth careers. One is probably the top ad man one of the top ad men in the country, building Hill Holiday into one of the largest ad groups in the nation, as well as being the former president of the Boston Globe for 3 years, running right up into 2017. Bob Whitcomb will be on the panel, Kate Nagel, our news editor. That'll be May 17th, and you can tune in live on that or sign up to be in attendance. There are limited tickets, but there's still some available. We just announced it this morning. Look forward to that. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.